I really care a lot about lyrics.
You seem to know a terrible lot of music, the way you talk about it. How many of your time are you busy with someone else's music besides your own music?
Like listening to other people's music, or
yeah,
just like reading about it. Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I'm just, and I think we all are just big fans of music, and we always, all our bandmates share this in common, that growing up, music defined who we were. The bands we listened to mattered to our identity, and it was like an important way of coming to know who we were as people, is the bands that we liked. It was a really big part of it. I mean, some people, like, what defined them was, you know, how good they were at sports, or like, I don't know, other interests they could have, like cars or something. But me and my friends just were obsessed with bands, and going to the record shop as often as possible, and just hanging out and talking about bands and going to shows. It was a huge part of who we are. And even now, I'm in a band, and that's it's like a dream come true. But I'm just a music fan first and foremost, and I really enjoy seeing other bands. And like, half the fun, as I said before, is just like getting to play shows, is seeing other cool bands, and meeting them, and just seeing their shows. And, you know, it's like, I got a free pass to Primavera. That's awesome, because I guess that's playing, but I got to go to the festival too, so it was really fun.
Isn't it a little bit dangerous for your own creativity if you listen to so much music that you maybe get too much focus on those bands, that you maybe lose your own identity?
No, because I feel that I don't necessarily agree with the notion that creativity is something wholly and fully out of nothing. I think all creativity is a product of what you experience in life, and the music you listen to, and the things you admire, and the things you dislike. I feel every band grew up admiring someone else. You know, Jonathan Richman admired the Velvet Underground, and he made music that in some way was like the Velvet Underground, but it was totally different than the Velvet Underground, and it had very much his personality to it. And then like 20 years later, the Pastels made music that was kind of like the Velvet Underground, and kind of like Jonathan Richman, but also kind of like so many other things, and it had so much of the same identity in it as well. Yes, there are bands that too closely mimic a certain one or two artists, but I think it only spurs creativity to be as aware as possible of as much music as you can be. I just think, you know, what would Orange Juice sound like if they'd never heard like Afro pop? You know, it just seems like such a wonderful thing to. It's almost like you're painting, and the choices about it is having like maybe 4 colors to use, or like 400, and just the greater the palette you have, the more expressive you can be in what you create. And so I think there's nothing wrong with artists loving other artists, and I think it's nothing but a good thing for the most part.
Okay, it accelerates each other, and maybe so. Okay.
No one grows up in a cave, you know.
Yeah.
no one grows up in an isolated island and then picks up a guitar and writes music that's never been heard, except for maybe the Shregs, what do they call it? No, the Shags. I'm sorry. We're playing with a band called Shreg, but it's Shag. I mean, there is instances of like complete and total outsider art, but maybe Wesley Willis. But for the most part, people that play music grew up loving music and listening to it a lot. So, I mean, you know, Bob Dylan had his heroes, and you know, Kurt Cobain had his heroes, and it didn't negate their own creativity or their own sense of self and identity.